and the methods they employ.
The History of Soldiers begins Monday at 10.
In Gibraltar last year, British Special Forces killed 3 unarmed IRA guerrillas. One of the dead was Mairead Farrell, an IRA member from the age of 14. Her life and death is the story of Northern Ireland's troubles and Britain's dilemma. How does a democratic society fight terrorism?
We're up against a ruthless, determined bunch of murderers here, so drastic measures are justified.
Death of a Terrorist on Frontline.
Death of a Terrorist, Tuesday at 9.
Today's programming is made possible in part by United Airlines. All across the Pacific, they're playing our song. Come fly the friendly skies.
Hi, my name is Carl. I subscribe to Channel 11, WTTW, Chicago.
It's time for the Channel 11 5th Sweepstakes celebration, and you're invited. This year, you'll have 15 chances to win a 1989 special 50th anniversary edition Mercury Sable GS, a Grundig audio-video center worth of all. Channel 11 programs for you and your family. If you haven't received your sweepstakes entry, write to 5th Sweepstakes Celebration, Channel 11, 5400 North St. Louis, Chicago 60625. So mail your entry tickets today.
Captain Scott called it the worst journey in the world. 883 miles across a frozen continent to the South Pole. Now 3 men set out to walk the distance, to follow in the footsteps of Robert Scott.
I don't believe in ghosts, but I do believe their spirit comes with us.
Struggle for the pole. Next time on Adventure.
Follow the Struggle for the Pole Monday at 8.
I'm Emily. I'm Beverly. You're watching Channel 11 WTTW Chicago in stereo.
This week on Sneak Previews.
It was tough, very tough, all of those dreadful things I did to you. But that's how I was brought up, and I did the best I could.
Oh, my papa, to me was so wonderful.
Want to fight? Come on, let's fight!
Stop dumping on me, Dad!
Oh, my papa, to me was so good.
God, I wish I was a fly in your head the way you're a wasp inside of mine.
I'm Jeffery Lyons.
And I'm Michael Medved. This week on a special Sneak Previews, we'll look at Hollywood's continuing fascination with the emotionally charged relationship between fathers and sons. There's no question that fatherhood is in right now. I mean, just look at the popularity of Bill Cosby, or his #1 best-selling book on fatherhood, or the dozens of recent films that focus on that complex but indestructible somehow bond between father and son. Now, in this Sneak Previews, we'll take a look at some of the very best and some of the very worst of these films. This is such a great subject for movie makers, in fact, that it's even begun turning up in action-adventure movies, where it's used to give some energy to otherwise tired plots. Now, in the surprise hit Iron Eagle, young Jason Gedrick has not one, but 2 father figures. His real father is being held prisoner by Middle Eastern terrorists, so Lou Gossett steps in to train the boy for an unauthorized mission to bomb an unnamed terrorist nation into a gigantic parking lot, and, incidentally, to rescue the old man. The Rescue was a much better film with a very similar plot, however. This time, it's a group of boys who get together to save their Navy dads from a prison camp in North Korea. Even Chuck Norris, master of deadly karate kicks and deadpan delivery, has joined the fatherhood craze. In his most recent film in the Missing in Action series, he goes back to Vietnam to rescue his own Amerasian son and other kids from an orphanage and to display his tender concern for their welfare.
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine, too.
Is Mom okay? Yeah, they said she was fine.
What do they want?
Right now they want me. Good, I'm coming with you. I want you to stay right here.
Target, from the great director Arthur Penn, is a far more complex, more serious film. Matt Dillon is a surly kid who has no respect at all for his father, a dull, stuffy businessman played by Gene Hackman. What the son doesn't realize is that long ago, his old man had a risky career with the CIA, and that past comes back to haunt both of them when the mother is mysteriously kidnapped. Father and son have to learn to work together to save the woman they both love. Watching Target on video, I actually liked the film somewhat better than I remembered, not because of the action sequences, which I never thought were anything much more than mediocre, but the relationships are interesting, because I think everybody has that feeling that you live under the same roof with your father and you take him for granted, but you don't really know him. And here, all of a sudden, that's taken to a big extreme, because it turns out that Gene Hackman has this entire other life, mysteriously, that his son finds out about, and that's sort of an interesting fantasy to play with.
It also justifies the dangerous predicaments in which father and son find themselves. Another thing about that movie, which really makes it a lot better than some of the other ones, is that the relationship between father and son is strained. It's not just given that it's a fanatical love between the two of them and look at the terrible things that are happening. So as the movie goes along, they evolve together and they get to understand each other. So the action and the violence is used as a justification for the basic love that's underneath the relationship.
Yeah, and the new respect, of course, that Matt Dillon is able to develop. But I think one of the questions that I ask is, why all of a sudden are we being deluged with these films about fathers and sons and fatherhood? And I think the obvious reason, or one of them, would have to do with that big bulge in the demographics and the population curve with baby boomers who just now are getting in themselves into playing the role of fathers. But also, I think there's that added sort of sensitivity that the women's movement has been trying to preach for years, the idea that men, in order to be real men, have to show some tenderness and concern, and being fathers is a way of doing that, so that even somebody like Chuck Norris, you know, it's no longer enough to be macho by slaughtering the entire Vietnamese army. You have to cuddle a little boy as well.
Well, other big stars too, Sylvester Stallone, whom we'll see later, and also Clint Eastwood, they're showing that beneath the image there is a real human being who is prone to tender moments and to real human emotions that we never would have seen a few years ago.
And one of the other things, though, that's a little bit sad about some of these action movies is that it's sort of implying that the only way father and son can really get close, get together, is if they're under fire together, facing danger. Sort of a sad message.
Well, that's why they make movies about those things. They don't always happen in real life. Now, father and son relationships in movies don't always have to have action-packed settings, of course. Hollywood has recently sent us several lightheaded comedies in which fathers either switch bodies with their sons, I'm sure you've seen some of those, and thus get perspectives on each other's view of the world, or they try to face difficult challenges together, with some hilarious results. In Like Father, Like Son, a rather hostile body switch comedy, Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron, playing his son, find living in each other's bodies can sometimes have disastrous consequences.
Look at you. You've been out all night doing God knows what in my body. Right. Using my cash, probably boozing it up. And where in the hell did you get the money to pay for an outfit like that?
I'm scared.
No reason to be scared, because Vice Versa made the switch look more convincing as father and son were jolted by being tossed into each other's worlds. Judge Reinhold effectively portrayed the father, Fred Savage the son.
If we're dreaming, you won't feel this.
But the funniest of these was Back to School. No body switch here. Who'd want Rodney Dangerfield's body after all? But the most believable as the loving father visits his son's campus to find out why the son's not doing as well as he'd led his father to believe.
Look, Dad, I know how much all this means to you, and I'm sorry I lied to you, okay?
Chase, you don't have to lie to me. No matter what you do, I'll love you just the same.
Will you love me no matter what?
No matter what.
I'm dropping out.
You're dropping out? You just got here. You just started.
Dad, I know, but I'm not making it here. I don't fit in, you know? I got one friend, Derek. He's got no friends. The girls don't like me. The fraternities don't want me. The diving coach won't even talk to me.
I mean, look at it this way. At least you're getting an education.
Dad, last semester I got nothing but C's.
A, B, C. You're in the top 3. What are you worrying about?
I just think I'd be a lot better off, you know, getting a job or something. Look, you never went to college. Look how great you're doing.
Jason, I said it before and I'll say it again. I don't care how rich, successful a man is. Without an education, he's nothing. I mean, stay in school, study harder. You can be whatever you want to be. You want to be a loser, you be a loser. You want to be a winner, you be a winner. Jason, it's up to you. You can do it. Remember, you're a melon.
This movie was very funny. Of course, it was a big hit. And I think it's interesting that it had the same basic setup as the two Body Switch movies that we showed, which is that you take the father and all of a sudden you put him into the son's world. And Back to School, of course, Rodney Dangerfield enrolls in college alongside of his son, Keith Gordon. And in all these cases, it's the father who learns from being in the son's world, who all of a sudden benefits from the point of view of a child, which is sort of a Hollywood myth that they like to put forward to us.
Yeah, my 7-year-old son loves these Body Switch movies, and I think they're becoming passé now, particularly ones like Vice Versa, good as they were. But it gave me a new perspective on him. I saw the way he constantly moves around, and, you know, parents were always saying, sit still to your kids. Well, they don't.
I thought you meant Georgie Dangerfield. You're talking about your son.
Right. But kids always do that, and when you watch a movie like that, you get an idea of what it's like to be a kid physically again. But look at the Rodney Dangerfield clip that we showed. That makes some wonderful points about staying in school. It's not the nonsensical movies he'd made before. It really has a tender moment to it, a tender heart to it, too.
It has that warmth that Easy Money, his previous film, didn't have, and that was a flop. This was a hit, and it's obvious why. But you mentioned the Body Switch movies. Obviously, the most successful Body Switch movie was Big, which wasn't a father and son movie at all. In fact, I don't even think you meet Tom Hanks' father. But I think one of the reasons it worked better is because it wasn't. Because it only focused on one character who all of a sudden finds himself at a different point in life. Part of what went wrong for me, at least, with Vice Versa and with the Like Father, Like Son, is it's so confusing, you know, because you're trying to juggle two different characters and their adventures rather than that single focus on character development that you had in Big.
They're also running out of variations on the gimmick. In 18, again, you may recall Charlie Slatter switched bodies with his grandfather, George Burns. I think we've seen the end of the Body Switch movies for now, but I'd like to see more movies like the Rodney Dangerfield film just to get some intelligence in this type of film.
Well, there's certainly going to be no shortage of continued work on fathers and sons, and I think we all get an emotional feeling when we think about our own fathers, and one of the ways that Hollywood has always tapped into that emotion is with a series of coming-of-age films. Now, in these movies, young men manage to assert their own manhood after a struggle by coming to terms with their troubled dads. And one of the very best of these films was the great Santini, of course, with Robert Duvall magnificently effective, playing a Marine flyer who's so obsessed with his own toughness that he can't even accept the fact that his growing son can now beat him in one-on-one basketball.
It's all over, Colonel.
Get out of here before I knock every freckle off your face.
That's mean. Wasn't that great?
Come on, Jocko. You got to win by 2 baskets. He said 1. I changed my mind. Let's go.
Now, you're not going to cheat the boy out of his victory. Come on, be a good sport.
Who the hell asked you anything?
Don't you talk to me like that.
I'll play him, Mom.
No, you won't. Now, he beat you, and it was beautiful.
Lily, you better get in the house before I kick your butt. Nobody's perfect.
The actor who owns the franchise when it comes to playing sensitive young men misunderstood by their fathers is Robbie Benson. His Suffering Son trilogy includes the disappointing tearjerker Harry and Son, with Benson as a surfer and aspiring writer, and Paul Newman, who also directed the film, as his construction worker dad.
Through? No, I'm not through. You live in my house and you're treated like dirt. I'd have thrashed the living daylights out of you. You want to fight?
The Chosen shows a similar conflict in a more exotic setting. Benson this time plays the son of the leader of a Hasidic sect in New York. Rod Steiger, as his wise but tremendously demanding father, can't understand the boy's fascination with secular pursuits like psychology and softball.
You look ridiculous. Yeah, you're damn right. Hey, does that bring back memories, though, huh? Wah, wah.
And then there was Tribute, with Jack Lemmon perfectly cast as a small-time press agent who'll do anything to make people laugh. And Benson is surprisingly good as his intense intellectual son.
When you split with Mom, why didn't you tell me about it? Well, when I... well, you're going back a few years, aren't you, son? Oh, that's okay. I really didn't expect an answer. Well, was it that rough on you, Judd?
Oh, I got used to it. It's just that I woke up one morning and you had gone.
Yeah. Well, I never really could figure it out myself, Judd. Well, of course, you were very young. I didn't know the right words.
What about afterwards?
Afterwards, I didn't have the guts.
You know, watching Tribute again, Michael, I remember liking it much better on the stage. I don't think it effectively made the transfer as well to screen, but I do want to defend Robbie Benson. I thought he was very good in this movie, evoking all the sensitivity that comes with his native craft.
And frankly, I thought Lemon was terrific. I think this is a very good movie to watch on video cassette because some of that staginess sort of comes off of it that you get on the big screen. And look, it is a corny film. It's a Bernard Slade screenplay. It's directed, surprisingly, by Bob Clark, who's best known for directing Porky's. But it is very sentimental, and it works very well because those characters become so real.
We showed The Great Santini. That movie has a history all its own. They should make a movie about the making and the selling of this movie. It was seen by one critic, a colleague of ours, on an airplane who got on a national TV show and said, you've got to see this movie. Nobody else knows about it. It had different titles in different parts of the country, and it really shows here what we're talking about. The father and the son learn from each other, and in these kinds of movies, you've got to learn from your father's flaws. He's not a perfect person, and you've got to live with them and adjust with them, and you can grow together.
No, in these coming-of-age films, of course, the fathers are very far from perfect, and in fact, I think one of the reasons that these films exert that kind of appeal is because what movies are about very often is conflict, and here you have sort of a built-in conflict where both sides of it can be completely sympathetic, and you can sympathize with both sides, and what usually happens in these films is either the father and son reconcile or the father dies. Both ways, there's a big emotional payoff.
Well, The Great Santini, from that scene alone, you really can't sympathize with the father. He's a very tough person to live with, but they both evolve during the movie, and they grow as characters.
Sure, and of course, at the end of the film, without trying to give it away, it does give one of those two emotional payoffs, but it's a film very much worth seeing, if nothing else, for that great performance that won Robert Duvall a surprise Oscar nomination. Well deserved.
Absolutely. Well, now, of course, father and son relationships can run the gamut from love to hate. As these movies evolve, fathers and sons can sometimes do terrible things to one another, from betrayal, even to murder. Two very recent films, both of which coincidentally happen to be set in western Pennsylvania, show this dark side of the father-son relationship. In The Prince of Pennsylvania, a disenchanted teenage son grows apart from his father and eventually convinces his girlfriend to don a Freddy Krueger mask and help him in a bizarre scheme to kidnap his own father, played by an astonished-looking Fred Ward. But far more sinister is At Close Range, in which a small-time hoodlum, played by a mumbling Christopher Walken, tries to encourage his sons, played by Sean and Christopher Penn, to follow him into crime. Here the father shows his growing dislike of his son's lack of ambition, but you better listen closely if you want to catch this scintillating dialogue.
What? I'm not going out anymore. You want to live in a dump like this, working 10 hours a day in a cannery? I thought you were like me. I thought you wanted something. A car. A nice girl sitting in your lap. Money in your pocket. You said I could go out on the side, right? You scared? I got something else. Something or somebody? Yeah. Terry and I are getting out of here. Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do when you get where you go? I got some ideas. How are you gonna pay? Apartment, food, clothes, all that. I'll find something. You find. All you know is how to steal. You're too dumb to do that by yourself. Oh, you think so? I know so. You come back, crawling back to my daddy down to give me something. Well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Jeff, I remember that I respected this film more than you did. It's a disturbing film based on a true incident. And what's so disturbing about it is it sort of dares to create a world in which this young man needs to hero worship his father and needs to look up to him, played very well, I thought, by Sean Penn. But the father is absolutely selfish and ruthless and manipulative and has no feeling at all for his son.
Well, let's talk about first just this film. Respect is a carefully chosen word, Michael.
Yes, it is.
There is a school of acting continually to be avoided called dirt-kicking acting. It's actually called something else, but I can't say what it's called. Every acting teacher will tell you to avoid it. What disturbed me about this movie was to see an Oscar winner like Christopher Walken, a fine actor, and Christopher Penn and Sean Penn, all good actors, like them or not, off the screen, giving bad performances. And I think this movie was self-indulgent. But I think this kind of picture is disturbing. You're absolutely right, because it explores a part of the relationship we just don't want to know about.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of those things that I think is in some ways a legacy of some of the ideas of the 60s, where people were saying, oh, the nuclear family is dead. The nuclear family is actually part of exploitation, and there's actually tyranny behind it. What these films are doing is saying, look behind the father and son pleasantness. There's this lurking monstrosity and exploitation and horror. And of course, when you say that in a picture, particularly today with this big return we have to family values, people aren't going to pay to go see the picture, and both of these films were terrific flops.
I don't want to close the door on this type of movie. I think the good film of this type has yet to be made.
Yes, that may well be true. We'll have to look forward for it. There's an old Yiddish proverb, meanwhile, that says that when a father stoops to help his son, they both laugh. But when a son stoops to help his father, they both cry. And some of the most interesting recent films about fathers and sons have focused on elderly dads who very much need their sons' help. Now, in each of these movies, the sons are big success stories who are acutely embarrassed by their fathers, who never amounted to much. That's certainly the sentimental setup, for instance, in Memories of Me, a film that I found maudlin and phony, with Billy Crystal as an uptight cardiac surgeon and Alan King as his life-of-the-party dad, a longtime Hollywood extra, who mocks the normal trappings of success. On the other hand, Da is a wonderful film, with Barnard Hughes as an impoverished Irish gardener who comes back after his own funeral to bicker with his son Martin Sheen, a prominent playwright.
Do you hear me? We're going on 40 years now. I've been through all this, you and that bloody teapot, and I know what's going to happen, so don't touch it.
Go along out of that.
I'm warning you.
Jesus, Mary, Joseph. That's hot. That handle must be hollow. Would you say that's what it was, son? Would you say the handle was hollow?
Please leave me alone. You're dead. You're in Dean's Grange in a box 6 feet under with her. I carried you. It's over. You're gone. So get out of my head.
But what's going on with you and Mom? I can never find the ketchup. Where does your mother hide the ketchup?
Nothing in Common was also superb, funny and heartbreaking at the same time, with Tom Hanks as a hotshot ad man forced to come to terms with his aging dad, Jackie Gleason, after the mother suddenly walks out on the old man.
She couldn't cook anyway. You know, the dog didn't die. He committed suicide. Now that's a piece of meat. You had breakfast? You want anything?
So, Mom left.
Do you see anyone else here?
You gotta tell me about this situation. We're gonna play 20 questions.
I told you on the phone. She walked out. She left.
Do you know where she is?
Who cares? I'm better off without her. She was some bundle of fun, that one. My side still hurt from laughing. Look, this isn't your problem. I don't want to waste your time.
Look, be fair. I've heard from you 3 times this year. Dad, once Merry Christmas, once get me hockey tickets, and now once your mother has left me. Don't waste that much of my time.
I know you want to leave. You've been here 10 minutes already.
What a terrific movie that was, and one of the things I liked best about it was that it doesn't go all gushy and sentimental on you. You don't all of a sudden find out that, gee, Jackie Gleason is this wonderful, sweet man that Tom Hanks has never appreciated. He plays Gleason in the performance of a lifetime, a terribly flawed, really pathetic character. And what Tom Hanks finds out is that his life is headed in the same direction, and he has to change his life. A very, very powerful film.
And a wonderful screen farewell for Jackie Gleason. Now, you know, when I look at Da with Martin Sheen and Barnard Hughes, I can't look at more than 5 seconds of that without getting a tear in my eye. There are so many wonderful scenes in that movie. One in particular strikes me when the son is going through his father's effects, the little knickknacks and things that he finds after his father has died, and he learns about his father, and he wonders what kind of person would carry these things around forever, but he realizes that he loves him even more because of that eccentric nature in the man.
Oh, absolutely, and it's one of the things in the film where he describes his father as sort of a wasp buzzing around in his head. And one of the things I found so interesting about that film is that Martin Sheen is Barnard Hughes' adoptive son in the film. So the notion is it's not blood that makes these people so close, it's the shared experience of growing up.
And you know, we showed Memories of Me, which I didn't like either, but I did like the motivations in the movie. Billy Crystal's father died when he was a teenager. In a way, he almost never forgave him for dying just before his success in life came. And there were good performances, but it shows you that good motives alone cannot necessarily lead to a successful film.
Not when it's bathed in sentimentality like that one is. I think what's interesting about these films, and they all have sort of the same format, same setup, is the idea that every father desperately wants his son to go on, to be something more than the father was, to have more opportunities, to be bigger. And here, what these films show is that when the son achieves that, it can also be a very sad, tragic, difficult situation.
I'm in trouble. My son wants to be a film critic. But some father and son movies, meanwhile, deserve a special mention. Not because they tug at your heart or get you to appreciate or love your father or son even more. No, this select group of films tried so hard and turned out so badly that they're unintentionally hilarious.
Does finding your own way include leaving your wife?
Who could ever forget Lord Laurence Olivier's scintillating performance as an aged cantor in the atrocious remake of The Jazz Singer, opposite that noted actor Neil Diamond, whose rhinestone performance provoked more laughter than tears.
3 months, man and wife, that's no good.
I'll say a few more like those and they may take that lordship away.
A divorce?
But even more wretched was Over the Top, in which Sylvester Stallone plays an arm wrestling truck driver trying to teach his whiny son his philosophy of life.
Okay? Grandfather always said you were a loser. Now you're trying to make me one, and I hate you for it.
Mike, I don't care what your grandfather thinks about me, okay? All I care about is you. Now, you lost back there because you beat yourself. You let yourself get beat. I know you can do it. You're a special kid. You're my boy, do you understand? But you're also a spoiled, rich brat who's always had everything done for him. Now it's time to do for yourself, Mike, and you can do it. Because I'm telling you, the world meets nobody halfway. Do you understand what that means? If you want it, Mike, you gotta take it.
Well, Sly, I don't gotta take it. I couldn't take more than 5 minutes of that movie. You know, movies like this either are prone to miscasting, the way they were with Laurence Olivier in The Jazz Singer, or a film like Over the Top, where they exploit the relationship and they get all self-important, and the result is ridiculous pomposity amounting to nothing.
Oh, well, more, less than nothing, if there is such a thing. I mean, in that movie in particular, they spend so much time trying to dramatize arm wrestling, which is perhaps the least cinematic sport imaginable.
It's a sport. Right.
Yeah, unless you were going to make a movie about Parcheesi. But I think that, you know, using The Jazz Singer illustrates a very interesting point, which is the first talking movie of all time, of course, was the original Jazz Singer, a father and son movie. Then you had movies like The Champ. All these father and son movies have been so important in the history of film. Well, the one thing I regret is that some of the very best of them aren't even available on video cassette yet, and we haven't been able to show them in this show. Films like Vittorio De Sica's wonderful picture, The Bicycle Thief.
Or I Never Sang for My Father with Melvin Douglas and Gene Hackman in some very tender moments. A fine picture which I remember seeing and loving at the time, but haven't seen since because we can't get hold of it.
Why don't they release it on video? I don't understand. And another film with Alan Arkin, I think one of his best films, a film called Poppy, which was sentimental and cute, but it was also very well acted and very well done. Also not available yet. For people who like father and son movies, they should get to work and release some of these things. So join us next time when we'll review the new movies in town. I'm Michael Medved.
And I'm Jeffery Lyons. So until then, on Sneak Previews, don't forget to save us the aisle seats.
Christopher Reeve and Vanessa Redgrave star in The Bostonians, 30 minutes from now at 7. In this age of stress and obligation, a little advice from an expert is always welcome.
That the family is a system. And that's what we've really come to understand, that it's a system, and as a system, it has its own systemic needs. Learn from that child. That child can teach you more about emotional life than anything you've learned. You can even learn more from your children than often you can learn from your parents.
Join us for The Lecture Series by noted family counselor John Bradshaw. Bradshaw on the Family, tomorrow at noon.
In Gibraltar last year, British Special Forces killed 3 unarmed IRA guerrillas. One of the dead was Mairead Farrell, an IRA member from the age of 14. Her life and death is the story of Northern Ireland's troubles and Britain's dilemma. How does a democratic society fight terrorism?
We're up against a ruthless, determined bunch of murderers here, so drastic measures are justified.
Death of a Terrorist on Frontline.
Watch Frontline Tuesday at 9.
Hi, my name is Ernest, and I'm a subscriber of Channel 11 in Chicago.
The Chicago presentation of the McLaughlin Group is made possible in part by Illinois Bell.
From the nation's capital, the McLaughlin Group, an unrehearsed program presenting inside opinions and forecasts on major issues of the day.
GE is proud to support the McLaughlin Group. GE, from plastics to financial services, we bring good things to life.
Here's the moderator, John McLaughlin.
Issue 1.